AsToldByEgo and welcome to my channel, and for those of you who are new, welcome. It's good to see you here. And before we get into today's video, I just want to say make sure you subscribe to my channel, give this video a big thumbs up, and hit that bell notification so you never miss a video. As you can tell by the title of today's video, we are going to be discussing the law school application process. And for this video, I kind of want to sit down for you guys and talk about the actual requirements for applying to law school and also my own personal experience with applying to law school, just some things I did to make it easier, some tips I have, and some good resources I use. Let's get into today's video. Okay, so the first thing I want to discuss is the actual application process. And if you see me look over here like this, it's because I'm looking at my laptop. I do have some notes just to make sure I don't miss any key points I want to hit. And so for the application process, it consists of the LSAT, letters of recommendation, your resume, the application, and personal statements. You also have the option of adding in an addendum or a diversity statement, which I will touch base on last. So let's start with the LSAT. The LSAT is the law school entrance exam that everyone has to take, although some schools are now moving towards the trend of accepting the GRE, but traditionally the LSAT is what you take to get into law school. And schools can see all of your scores, so if you take the LSAT 3 times, 2 times, schools will see all of those scores and how many times you've taken it, unlike the SAT, where you can opt to send your best score. And letters of recommendation, so you obviously get those from professors or bosses, and yeah, I don't think I really need to say much on that. It's kind of the same like undergrad. Your resume, just like with a job, you want to make sure it has a very concise and clean format. That way whoever's reviewing it can see all of the information easily. And your personal statement, schools usually will not give you a prompt. I like to call those freestyle, or they'll give you a prompt. And the prompts I had were like basically why law and why this school. So I had freestyle essays and like why law and why this school. So I wrote 2 essay structures, and then I kind of tailored it for what schools I was applying to. And lastly, the actual application, it's basically like demographics. It's not really like questions, although some of my applications did have questions, and I believe they're basically just like why this school. But for the most part, every application uniformly is like your name, your address, stuff like that, and character and fitness questions. And character and fitness questions can vary from have you been arrested, have you ever had a moving violation, and stuff like that. So now we're going to talk about the addendum and the diversity statement. So the addendum is a way you can kind of explain discrepancies in your application. And what I mean by discrepancies is maybe you got a really high LSAT score the second time, but the first time you got a really, really low score. Or maybe you have like this trend in your transcript where you had a really low GPA starting out and it just skyrocketed up. So an addendum is good because you can tell your narrative as opposed to the school kind of trying to fill in the blank and say, okay, why did she get this LSAT score now but not before? So that's a good thing about that. And a diversity statement basically is you explain like why you're at it, what or why makes you a diverse candidate. So maybe like you're from an underprivileged background, or you had this really unique life experience that makes you diverse. And so yeah, I actually didn't write any of those, but I did do extensive research on it, which is why I can feel comfortable discussing it. So the LSAC is the website for all your law school needs. The LSAC is where you apply to school. The LSAC is where all of your stuff gets compiled and sent to the schools. And the LSAC is where you can find information about schools outside of the actual school website. So the LSAC sends your scores, and also is where your recommenders upload their letters of recommendation. And so how the LSAC compiles your stuff is called the CAS, which is a credit assembly service, I believe. And basically you pay a one-time fee, and then now you can use that. And then for each school you send stuff to, you pay a fee for your transcript, LSAT, and application, I want to say, to be sent. Basically you basically pay for everything that can be you basically pay for everything to be compiled and sent to the schools. And so obviously there's no way to opt out of the LSAC. Every school I applied to, their application was on the LSAC. I don't know if any school does their application outside of there. I didn't have that problem, but yeah, so the LSAC is definitely something you need to like learn, know how to use, and know how to navigate. The LSAT also has some cool features that can definitely help you. So schools that opt in, you can plug in your LSAT score and your GPA, and you can kind of see trends and how many people they admit and like your chances of getting into those schools based on your scores, which I really liked and I totally use. And yeah, that's really it for the application process. So now I'm going to discuss kind of my personal process and some tips and websites I use. So applying to law school can definitely be very expensive, considering the fact you have to pay for this thing called CAS, which I believe stands for the Credit Assembly Service, and that basically is a one-time fee, and in addition to that, each school you apply to, you have to pay an application fee and additionally a fee for your scores to be compiled and sent. And basically what I mean by that is you pay a fee for them to compile your transcript, your scores, your letters of recommendations, and stuff of that nature, and send it to the schools. And so my first recommendation is to definitely look into fee waivers, whether it be reaching out to schools or going to events where law school representatives will be at. And my undergraduate institution had a law school fair thing, and I actually went to that and I got 2 fee waivers from going to that. So going to events like that, searching online, and just reaching out to people at the school is definitely a good way to find fee waivers, and it can definitely reduce the costs because it adds up when you're paying for the fee with the application fees and additionally that extra cost to even send your score. This next point, like, I can't stress enough, organization. So this process, you need to be organized, and that helps a lot and reduces so much stress. I would recommend when you first start out, make just a general list of schools. Don't be like too picky of schools that pique your interest. And what I did was I arranged it by state and by cost. So I color coded it. So like, for example, New Jersey maybe was red, New York blue, stuff like that. And then I arranged that by cost and basically kind of like other information, like whether they have in-state, out-of-state tuition, private, public, stuff like that. And from there, I kind of narrowed down my list. And I also like put the pros and cons of each school. So that was just my basic list. And then next, when I finally had my school list finalized, I had important deadlines, costs, and all of that in my new sheet. And that really helped me stay on top of things, know my budget, and just know my dates. And it was like a weight lifted off my shoulder that everything was in one place. So I knew, okay, boom, 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 I need to do this school first because their applications due this date and stuff like that. So organization is key for the application process. So to piggyback kind of off my discussion on schools, you have to do research on these schools. So really, obviously, you can't really know what kind of law you want to study, but just have an idea of like what interests you and look into these schools to see what they offer, look into their on-campus interviews, just kind of see who's on campus, who's interviewing and stuff like that. It's really important you set yourself up for the best situation. Unfortunately, with our career, where you go matters, so you want to be able to make sure you're in a situation where you're going to be pushed forward and be able to network, meet good prospective employers and stuff like that. So just looking up your school, looking at what they're known for, what their push is, can really help you. And I'm not a big advocate for rank matters, but that's just our own personal discretion. Really, I'm all about what the school has to offer as opposed to rank and what that school can do for me. I also kind of want to talk about how I felt during my process. So I was extremely overwhelmed and scared because like I didn't know what to write for my personal statement. That's really what was like holding me back. But like for that, I really just had to sit down and write it. And like until I did that, I really like was like, I don't know what direction I'm going with this. Like, what am I gonna write about? Like, oh my god, the schools that didn't give me a topic, I'm like, my life is boring. But I ended up writing about learning how to code, which was to me a great essay, and it was really personal, and I was able to actually like connect with the essay. So to that, I'll say something that really helped me was writing about a topic that I can really connect to, and it definitely opened up and took away my writer's block. So the next thing is to kind of like ease your mind. You can look at some like law school blogs. There's a lot of good blogs out there that you can look into that have people kind of discussing their stats and what schools they apply to, whether they got in or not, and just general like talk about schools, like application process and where they are along the process. So those blogs kind of just helped me. I didn't use them as like gospel or law. I kind of just read them to ease my mind or just to see like what's going on in the world. So I don't really recommend this as like a concrete must-have, more so just as like a way to look into things and just see like stuff from other people's perspective. Okay, so that's it for this video, and I hope you found it helpful. And for those of you applying to law school, good luck, you know, may the force be with you. And yeah, so basically this kind of is my start to my law school videos. Definitely look out for more. I hope you enjoyed this, and sorry for those people who aren't here for law school, but I definitely have other content for you guys. And yeah, so just once a week I'm going to be talking about law school, bear with me. Definitely leave some comments down below about what topics you'd want to hear about relating to law school, the process, things of that nature. I guess even the LSAT, I'll dig deep and talk about that. Don't really like to think about that, but for you guys, I sure will. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and follow me on all my social media, and I can't wait to see you for the next video.